It's Tuesday Wrestling, and you all know what that means. That means we're going to have some amazing reviews. But first things first, we're going to review the latest New Japan Pro Wrestling as we continue with more of the G1 Climax. We are continuing with Block A's and B's. So we're going to see how far these guys go. And of course, we move on with NWA Powerrr. We have some interesting matches we definitely going to be talking about. But however, the NWA World Jr Heavyweight title is on the line. And of course, we go on to NXT as we get closer to the Great American Bash this coming Sunday. Anything could happen before we get there. So we'll see what happens. And of course, we have some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, any injured wrestlers or signed wrestlers, however you want to put it. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Lead It Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Lead It Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, if you are new to the channel, if you want to enjoy all these reviews, please click subscribe and you will enjoy every review from any promotion that we've been doing. But if you like this episode, please click like. So let's get started with our very first review, and that is, of course, the latest New Japan event, with continuing with the G1 Climax. Now, if you're new to the channel, let me explain what the G1 Climax is. The G1 Climax is an annual tournament that New Japan throws out. Now, this is not an actual tournament where just you lose the match, you're out. No, this is a point-based system. You win a match, you get 2 points. If you don't win a match, you get 0. However, if the match ends in a time limit draw, each competitor gets 1 point. The winner will be face the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, who is currently now Sanada, and that winner will meet at the beginning of the year at Wrestle Kingdom. Now, let's get started with the matches. I believe we have our first one is B Block. Now, this is a showdown amongst the United Empire between the Great Okan and Will Ospreay. Now, many people have already considered that Will Ospreay is the fan favorite to win this tournament. Now, he's currently in the lead. However, he has to face the Great Khan. I have to say, there was no holdbacks between both sides. They both want to win. But I figured that this match definitely was going to go with Will Ospreay, because he pulled off the leap of faith, a brand new move that he showcased at the start of the tournament, giving him 2 wins. So currently he has 6 points. So that means he has 3 wins so far, and I believe he has 1 loss, which he lost to Taichi. As for Great Okan, he only has 2 points, which means he only had about maybe 1 win and 2 or 3 losses, one of the two. But yes, somewhere around there. But yeah. Now let's move on to the A block. We have Shota Umino, the roughneck, taking on Gabe Kidd. Now, those who know, Gabe Kidd is a very despicable person. He likes to attack his opponents regardless, because his idea is to soften up his opponents long enough for him to pick up the win, because right now he is saying he is the future ace of New Japan. I don't think so, because an ace does not attack his opponents just like that. I mean, Tanahashi is not that guy. He is the ace of New Japan. However, Shota Umino refuses to stay down no matter what. I mean, he is, after all, the protege of Jon Moxley. There's no way he's going to back down. But I figured that this was going to be a good match. But Gabe Kidd, his chances to be the future ace, well, he ended up on the wrong side of Death Rider, or as we know it, the paradigm shift which is a move that Jon Moxley does. So Shota Umino won, so he has 4 points, and so does Gabe Kidd. So I believe right now Shota Umino has 1 loss, 1 draw, and no, 2 draws, 2 wins, I believe. Yeah, 2 draws, 1 win, and 1 loss. So that way, Gabe Kidd, I know he has about maybe 2 wins and one loss, or 2 losses now. Now let's jump in with B block. We have Kenta versus Taichi. Now, of course, there was moments we're gonna see where Kenta, trying to be despicable. As always, we see him use the referee to his advantage, low blowing, but he did the most biggest mistake. Now, if you've seen Taichi, he never takes off his pants unless he has to. But he did that, he pissed him off, but it didn't work. However, once again, Kenta got away with it by whacking Taichi in the groin, and then later on, the schoolboy, just like that. So he gets 2 points. So right now, they're both tied with 4 points each. So they both have 2 wins so far, and I believe they may have several losses. Now we jump back to A block. We have Chase Owens versus Yota Tsuji. Now, Yota Tsuji has already lost 1 match, and I believe he had 2 draws in this particular match. But he faces Chase Owens, who has improved a lot. Now, recently, we know he has been keeping an eye on Tsuji. However, Tsuji, he is a freaking beast of nature. This guy, he always has that creepy smile, I mean, that it seems like a creepy smile. I'm not creeped out by it, but I'm just saying out there. But of course, he did took Chase Owens out with the Gene Blaster, which is the equivalent of the spear, and giving him his very first win in the G1. Now, I know that many fans adore Yota Tsuji. Do I highly believe he could make it to the finals? I don't know. Only time will tell. If he can catch up to what everybody else is doing, it's a possibility. But we'll see. Now, we jump back to B block, and this one is a very interesting matchup. We have El Phantasmo versus Tangaloa. Now, the reason I say this is because these two guys are no strangers with each other. They were members of the Bullet Club. Now, remember, Tangaloa, he and his brother Tama were excommunicated by Jay White. But El Phantasmo recently was excommunicated by David Finlay because, of course, Phantasmo. But however, I think what I like about this match is Tangaloa has no ill will feelings towards El Phantasmo, but I think he feels like, let's be bygones, knowing that they want to find success, and I think that's something important. I mean, Tama Tonga is doing that same thing. We're seeing success. He was the never openweight champion, and I think that's something that we all need. But I wasn't too sure how this is going to be, but it was an amazing match. It was, of course, Phantasmo with a crucifix pin on Tangaloa, and it is like you couldn't even believe that happened. This was, of course, Phantasmo's first win, and I believe he has 3 losses at this one, so he has 2 points. The same thing with Tangaloa. However, Tangaloa showed him a lot of respect. I mean, who knows if those two will ever team up again? I think that's something. I mean, look, Tangaloa and Tama Tonga, they know they can rely on the main unit, like Tanahashi, Master Wato, Kushida, those guys. However, I don't know about Phantasmo, but I'm sure he could do the same thing with them. But only time will tell. Now, next up, we have Tangaloa's younger big brother. We're talking about Hikuleo, and he faces Ren Narita. This is part of the A block. I have to say it was a pretty interesting match. Now, Ren Narita, who's been dubbed as the son of strong style, you probably would have presumed that this match was definitely going to go in his favor. However, no one can match the size of a guy like Hikuleo, who is a beast of nature, a guy who is going to choke slam you. But that exactly is what he did. He choke slammed Ren Narita to pick up his first win. So he is currently with 2 points, with 2 points, with 1 win and 2 losses. Same thing with Ren Narita. No, Ren Narita I think has 2 draws, I believe. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's what it is. But anyway, now let's jump into Block A. Now we have a chaos showdown between Yoshihashi and Kazuchika Okada. Now, this is a very interesting matchup. Now, many people could see that maybe Yoshihashi is the underdog. I always did consider Yoshihashi as the underdog until he started picking up some good wins, winning his first championship match when he became the never openweight six-man tag team champions with Goto and Ishii, and of course becoming the IWGP heavyweight champion with heavyweight tag team champion with Goto, and I think that's a good, fantastic story. But the obvious question does tell: is he on the level of Okada? That's a good question. I mean, look, he may not be as good as Okada, but he is a fighter till the end. That's exactly how I picture Yoshihashi, and I'm sure Okada felt the same way too about him. But it was the Rainmaker that put him away to give him the win. So at this point, Okada is in the lead with 8 points, with 4 wins and no losses. So he is currently undefeated. And as for Yoshihashi, he only has 4 points with 2 wins and 2 losses. So anything could change from there. But we'll see how far progressed he can go. Now, our main event is the A block. We have Kaito Kiyomiya from Pro Wrestling Noah making his New Japan debut. He faces against Sanada. Now, those who know this or not, both these men were blessed to have one special move to use as in their repertoire, the Shining Wizard. If you guys know this, both of them were trained by none other than Keiji Muto, or as we know him as well as the Great Muta. So I thought this was a very interesting match. I mean, but from what Kevin Kelly and Chris Carlton said, the reason the Korakuen Hall was sold out was because there were a lot of Kaito Kiyomiya fans in attendance, and it seems like Kaito Kiyomiya was the favorite to win. However, he had to face against Sanada, who is our current champion. However, Sanada, he has been a very strong champion. I mean, proving that he can make it to the top no matter what. But however, he has to face a guy who feels like he's an entitled brat. I mean, Keno has often talked about him many times, but luckily for him, it was the Shining Wizard that put him away once and for all and giving Sanada the win. So currently, Sanada is also in the lead with 8 points, tied with Okada. But not in the same block. But as for Kiyomiya, he has 5 points with 2 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. So that's what really is happening. So I think that's pretty much it for this. I know we will continue with C and D on the next episode, but right now let's move on with NWA Powerrr. Okay, NWA Powerrr. So let's get started. Now, our first opening match is a singles match. We have Damage from Blunt Force Trauma, or as we call them, BFT. They face off Jack Stain, better known as the Dane Event. I had a feeling there was going to be some interesting moments of this match. Now, the reason I say that is because Jack Stain would do anything in his power to pick up a win, even if he has to cheat. However, Damage, he's a strong individual, but however, his manager, Aaron Stevens, will do whatever it takes to ensure this match will win. Now, they took the fight outside, but without the referee's knowledge, Aaron Stevens, once again with the loaded glove, knocked out Jack Stain, but the ref had no other choice but to continue on with the match, count it out, and of course, Damage won by countout. Now, this is a very controversial thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Silvio brought this into a protest. That's something I know for a fact he would do, but we'll just wait to see what happens next week. Now, our next match is a very interesting one. We have Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch are winners of this year's Crockett Cup. They face against Russ Jones and Shaft. I have to say, pretty good match. I mean, right now, I feel like Knox and Murdoch are building that momentum before we head to NWA 75. Now, keep in mind, they will face La Rebellion for the NWA World Tag Team titles. But however, Aaron Stevens did say he is making sure that blunt force trauma get those opportunities before they do. So we'll see how that goes. But however, the match was great. I mean, they were able to pick up a good win when they applied a high-low onto Shaft, but it was Murdoch who picked up the win. So I have to say, they're building good momentum. So we'll see how that goes when we get to night 2 of NWA 79.5. Now we do get a little interview with Nims. Now Nims, on the other hand, he is currently knows that he has to face against Blake Troop, a member of the Savages. He knows that he is in fact the smallest guy, but he's a tough SOB from his size. But we'll see how that turns out. Now that match, of course, went on without a hitch. I mean, I thought Nims would have had everything under control, but however, Troop, who has a bit of the submission move, he was able to apply an ankle lock onto Nims. Now Nims, for the record, he did not tap out. Referee saw that he was already out, so basically he called it like that. But however, in a later interview with Nims' tag team partners, Dak Draper, he was on texting, calling medical doctors to see the update on, of course, on how's Nims. However, he said he'll be fine, but he is preparing for his match for a shot of the NWA National Heavyweight Championship, which was dropped by EC3. Basically, there will be damage will be involved, and so is Chris Adonis. Dak Draper is determined to get that, so that's a little later. That's until next week. Now, our next interview we have is, of course, Eric Johnson by May Valentine. He talks about Father, and of course, Father got into his face, telling him, be careful what you wish for. So we know Father's a very psycho, so we'll see how that turns out for him. Now, our next match is a very interesting tag team duo. We have Jordan Clearwater and Odison. They face the current NWA United States Tag Team Champions, the Country Gentlemen, AJ Kazana and Anthony Andrews. Now, I didn't think this was going to be possible, but I have to say it was a pretty good team up between Jordan Clearwater and Odison, but somehow they were able to pick up a good win when Odison pounced Andrews, but he picked up the win, pinning the Country Gentleman. So by rule of thumb, the Odison and Jordan Clearwater have an opportunity to challenge for the NWA United States Tag Team Champions since they beat them. But however, I don't know how Odison would feel having Clearwater as his tag partner. His last tag partner was none other Pero, but we haven't seen him for quite some time. We know that outside of NWA, he's been making appearances in GCW, but that's another conversation for another time. We'll see how that turns out. Now, once again, the DLZ, they have a little interview with Latimer, who didn't want to talk to, neither does Camille. So, however, that's how it rolls into that. Now, our main event is the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. We have Matt Vines taking, what's his name? Kerry Morton. But you know how this match is. Kerry Morton will determine to keep the title on his waist. But however, he knows that he has to focus right now on Matt Vines because his opponent at NWA 74 is none other than Colby Corino. So that's going to be interesting. But this match ended in Kerry Morton retaining the title. So I think that's pretty much it with NWA. So let's move on with our final review, and I believe that is NXT. Okay, NXT. As you know, we're getting closer to the Great American Bash, so let's get started. Now, as you know, we saw Dirty Dominic Mysterio along with his main squeeze, Mommy, Rhea Ripley, show up. Now, keep in mind, Dominic not too long ago won the North American title from Wesley thanks to the help of Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Now, recently, Dominic has defended that title from my understanding, even though I don't watch Raw or SmackDown. He defended it against Sami Zayn, many others. However, they're trying to prove a point that Judgment Day actually runs the entire thing. However, Wesley hasn't let go of the past, how this thing ended. But of course, Mustafa shows up, tried to warn him that he needed him by his side, knowing that the Judgment Day were about to walk away. But of course, the thing is between those two, Wesley doesn't know if he can trust Mustafa Ali after that controversial matter between him and Tyler Bate, the way things ended. So naturally they started finding each other, and of course, but it was later made official that at the Great American Bash, both um, oh, both of these men will be in a three-way match against Dominic for the North American Championship. So we will see that. Now we do see a very interesting area with Mackenzie. We have the family, of course, Stax and Tony D, but they were confronted by Bronco Lima and Lucian Price. Now keep in mind, Lima are trying to make a name for themselves, but we know the family has already targeted to proceed for the tag team titles. But of course, it felt like Lima and Price must have felt that they should have been the ones getting that opportunity. But they will be facing them in a little later. Now, our opening match, we have Schism, Joe Gacy, Rip Fowler, and Jagger Reed taking on Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, and Ilya Dragunov. Now, recently we have seen Ilya Dragunov try to protect Carmelo Hayes in every aspect, but Gacy is the kind of guy who sees things that he feels that, why are you allowing this guy to protect you? You know he's going to stab you. The problem is, Dragunov, he's the kind of guy we have seen over time where he doesn't want to see his opponent, who he knows that they are capable. Now, we have heard people doubt that Carmelo Hayes can defeat Dragunov, but Dragunov doesn't believe that. He believes that he can do it, but it's more like he's protecting his investment. However, of course, like the usual tricks with Schism, it did not work. But there was a sudden misfire between both Dragunov and Trick Williams. But however, it did not affect the outcome of the match when, of course, Mello applied nothing but net, giving them the win. So it was a good match, but however, it looks like tensions between both Williams and Dragunov are not that good at all. However, what's his name? Mello tries to reason with them. He said, look, I understand he's your friend. Okay, I made that mistake. So basically, he's not looking for a fight, but Trick Williams, he's the kind of guy who's not going to let that go, no matter what goes on. Now, we do see Lyra Valkyria in an interview. Of course, she issued a challenge against Rhea Ripley, but not for a title. Now, keep in mind, Jay-Z Jane doesn't see, as you know, Lyra Valkyria has been in a bit of a rivalry with none other than Jay-Z Jane. Jay-Z Jane thinks that there's nothing special about her, but she did beat her. But, however, Rhea Ripley has always been fond of her, trying to prove something. But Jay-Z Jane somehow was able to beat her the last time. So this is more of a warm-up match to what's going to happen, but we'll see how that goes. Now, our next match, let's call it a squash match. We have Von Wagner, who defeated Big Body Javi, who's been saying crap about him. Well, he did defeated him when he chokeslammed him, and then post-match, he intended to put Big Body Javi through the table, the commentary table, but however, unexpectedly, Braun Breaker showed up and speared him. Now, it's still unclear why Braun Breaker did that, so it's not heard of, but we'll see what happens until then. Now, Gable Stevenson has already announced that he is going to be participating in NXT. However, a certain someone who feels that, I can't let newcomers make this crap, make a mockery of this. Of course, Baron Corbin shows up. He doesn't think that this is where he belongs. However, Stevenson's not going to give a damn what Corbin says. But of course, he got suplexed twice by Baron Corbin. But luckily, security were able to keep Corbin away from Stevenson. So that's going to be interesting to go. Now, our next match is a kendo stick match. We have Dana Brooke versus Cora Jade. Now, Cora Jade has always been the mean girl the entire time, always saying that whatever she sees is her common truth. However, Dana Brooke made her choice to return to NXT as a free agent. She has been making good ways and also becoming a mentor to Kalani. Jordan says they're both gymnasts. But it was a much brutal match in this kendo stick match. Not to mention they even used chairs in the matter. But one thing that the outcome shows, Dana Brooke is a tough woman, even though people have criticized her. Look, we can see why people think, oh, Dana Brooke's not that good. Look, who cares? I mean, she works real hard as everybody else. And I have to say, this match was pretty good, where she had to put everything on the line against Cora Jade, and she applied a swanton right where she was on top of some chairs, taking Cora Jade out. So that's a pretty good match. I have to say, she may be able to grow better than she ever was. I don't know if this is like something that we're seeing with Mandy Rose, because after what happened with Mandy, we may never know how things would have been with her if she wasn't fired. But I hope Dana Brooks doesn't go in that direction. Now, let's see. Oh yeah, we had been seeing recently. Now, recently we had there's been interesting developments with Charlie Dempsey while he was training with Miles Bourne. Here comes Damon Kemp, who feels like he could be in the same page as them, because, as you know, keep in mind, Damon Kemp is a collegiate wrestler. He could fit exactly like him. So it seems like Dempsey and Gulak like what they're seeing. So we could see exactly the kind of style that they are doing. I wouldn't be surprised if they form like a new version of Catch Point, which is a faction that Drew Gulak started in the Independents. I mean, it could feel something like that. Now, our next match, we have a Bronco Lima, Lucian Price versus Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stax Lorenzo. Now, keep in mind, Stax and Lorenzo will be facing Gallows Boys at the Great American Bash for the tag titles. However, of course, Scripps was going to get involved in this match to ensure that the Lima and Price gets their... But luckily, Axiom, who hasn't forgotten what happened last week, showed up, give him an ass whooping that he deserves. But luckily, it was, of course, Tony D'Angelo who picked up the win on, I think it was Lima, giving them the win. However, the Gallows Boys, who haven't forgotten what happened last time, are now back to make a statement. So we'll see how that goes until we get there. Now, recently we have saw Dijak, who attacked Eddie Thorpe. Now, Dijak is building up his own brand of justice against wrestlers that he feels that needs to be judged. And now the latest is none other than Eddie Thorpe. So right now Eddie Thorpe has no other choice but to dig deeper to face guys like, of course, Dijak. Now, there was an exclusive footage that was released where Roxanne Perez attacked Blair Davenport in a convenience store. Now, people were often talking about this, like saying deja vu. Now, those who are not familiarized with what's going on, let me explain. Years ago, during the Attitude Era, when WCW invaded WWE, there was a bit of a rivalry between Booker T and, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin chased Booker T in a supermarket, and they were fighting all over the place, getting food on themselves and all this other stuff. And of course, Roxanne said something. Clean up on aisle 3. That is a reference to what what happened in that particular, like a nostalgic. Now, we've seen something like this before. If you guys remember, Seth Rollins was right next to Rhea Ripley, which was homage to the whole thing with Shawn Michaels and Melina. So that kind of puts it in a very interesting dilemma. I wouldn't be surprised if Booker T thought of the idea if that was it. But I have to say it was a pretty good idea. But however, Roxanne is trying to prove a point, because Davenport doesn't think that Roxanne deserves to be there, because she thinks of her as a little girl. But we'll see what happens, because it turns out at the Great American Bash is going to be a Weapons Wild match. So anything could go down. So this time, Roxanne has to dig more deeper into her killing instincts to take out Blair Davenport. Now, the Supernova session is back. The Metaphor appeared out of the blue. And of course, they found a way to get Noam Dar out of his little depression ever since losing the NXT Heritage Cup to Nathan Frazier. So they gave him a cup, declaring him as the winner. But Nathan Frazier and Dragon Lee are not going to take that kindly. But luckily they brought backup Yulisa Leon, and Valentina Frost. So we will see a four-way intergender, into a four-way an 8-person mixed tag team match. So that's going to be fun to watch. Now our main event is Rhea Ripley versus Valkyria. I have to say, what a good match. I mean, Valkyria had to dig a lot deeper than she normally, because she knows she's not facing no slouch towards Rhea Ripley. But Rhea Ripley knows that she cannot hold back or anything, so she has to put everything in front of her. But she did when she applied the riptide. However, Rhea Ripley actually told her to kick Daisy Jane's ass. So basically, she's giving her the words of encouragement to beat her ass. Now, I don't know what Daisy Jane would think of this, but I'm sure she will feel like it's unfair that someone like Rhea Ripley, who is one of the top women in WWE, is behind Lyra Valkyria. So that's pretty much it. Now, before the show ended, we saw a very interesting development. Williams, who hasn't forgotten what happened when Dragunov misfired him, so he called him out. Dragunov, oh my God, he was beating the crap out of him. But the one thing that was interesting, Carmelo Hayes took a bullet for Williams. I mean, he would do anything to protect his boy. But was it foolish? Perhaps. But was this the right thing to do? I don't know. But we'll see how that goes when we get to the Great American Bash. But the obvious question does tell. Will Dragunov finally fulfill his destiny? Will he finally become the NXT champion? We just gotta wait and see. So I think that's it right now for this review. Let's move on with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So this is what we have so far. Monthly Peer Russo have recently been interviewed Maki Itoh. Now, Maki Itoh was recently talking about if the people are sick and tired of Maki Itoh's current image. Now, I mean, there's nothing wrong with her current image, but she feels that she wants to remain the same, but to grow up. I mean, look, we have seen how she has become successful, not only in Japan, but also here in the States. I mean, appearing in GCW and this and that. So, who knows how things will go. I'd say if she wants to grow but remain the same, go for it. Let's see how that goes. Now, West Coast Pro has announced for the From the West Coast with Love on September 10th, Lucas Riley will be making his appearance. Now, updates from Prestige Wrestling. For the Roseland 6 event on September 1st, Zaya Brookside will be in action to take on none other than one half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Killer Kelly. So that's going to be awesome to watch. Now, for the upcoming Respect the Issue on the 29th of September by Prestige Wrestling, it was announced that we have Trish Adora will be facing Tokyo Pro Wrestling star and former champion Shoko Nakajima. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Now, GCW has announced they'll be returning to Atlanta, Georgia in September on the 4th. I think I got this one. Okay, New Blood 10 has been announced. There's been the card for that one has been revealed. Let me pull it up for everyone to see. Well, I don't have it on my phone here. But anyway, we do know that Yuna Mizumori will be facing against Natsupoi to see. This is more of an assessment to take on, of course, see if she passes the test in order to become a full-fledged member of the Cosmic Angels. Miyu Amasaki will be facing Saru Noi. Who else I know? Oh yeah, of course, the future of Stardom Belt will be defended. Rina makes her, I think this is her first defense, I believe. She faces Waka Tsukiyama. I know that there's a lot of fans who will love to see Waka as the champion, but I feel like there's doubt that they're going to allow her to win. because her 3-year experience is almost up. But we'll see how that goes. But we'll find out what other matches are going to be involved. We do have wrestlers coming from Wave. 2 of them will be teaming with Hanako, and that's so on. So there's a plenty more. I'm sorry about that. Now, I want to save this one for last for everybody. You may have heard news about what happened to Saya Kamitani during the main event at day 1 of the 5-star Grand Prix. She dislocated her elbow, and it's still undetermined how long will she be out. However, Rossy Ogawa announces on a press conference that Kamitani will be out from the 5-star Grand Prix, which is a huge disappointing for all those fans. But however, there is still undetermined whether she'll be replaced or all the matches that she was supposed to be involved in her block, she's part of the red block, will be forfeited. Like, this is a scenario that was done with Naito a couple years ago during G1, so we don't know. But however, Kamitani was scheduled to team up with Mina Shirakawa in the Dream Tag event. Now it's been confirmed that Mina will be teaming with Tam Nakano, so that was a very interesting thing. But we'll see how that goes. But all we can do is wish Kamitani well. Hopefully she gets a speedy recovery, but we'll just wait and see what she does. I know Mina has spoken about her recently because if you guys remember, Kamitani felt responsible for what happened to Mina. And of course, people tried to say that she did that intentionally, but Mina always said, we're pro wrestlers. This is what we do. Things like this happen. And I think that's what Mina wants us to understand. Whatever Kamitani was doing when she dislocated her elbow, that's how pro wrestling is. And she feels we make these mistakes. So there's no one at fault here. So that's how it goes. And I think that's something we have to learn. We cannot blame for what, because I remember when Kamitani was blamed for what happened to Mina Shirakawa last year, Mina never blamed her for that. She felt we're pro wrestlers. Things like this happen. And I have to agree with her. I mean, anything could happen. But we'll see what happens. So I think that's pretty much it for our news updates. So I say it's time to call it a day. Okay. For our next episode, as you know, we continue with more of the G1 Climax, so I'll be doing that. And of course, we got AEW Dynamite. As you know, we come out at the heels after a week ago from the Blood and Guts, but we'll see how that turns out. So we know that AR Fox will be challenging Orange Cassidy for the AEW International title. That's going to be great. However, I haven't decided if there's going to be another things I want to review. I've been considering maybe, just maybe, reviewing DDT Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Peter Pan, which is their version of WrestleMania. So we'll see how that goes. So if I can't do it, I apologize in advance to everyone who are watching. Stay tuned for my next podcast episode. We will be talking about the 5-star Grand Prix, the G1 Climax, and several other things, and also more on Kamitani, about my thoughts about how this turns out. I think that's pretty much it what we have. So for now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.